If, like me, you get frustrated with USB cables and they always end up in a mesh, as tidy as you put them away in your bag, when you take them out again, somehow they've got themselves in a knot, and I never understood how that happens. And what I do is I cut out little bits of Velcro strip and I tie them around like that, and that's fine. It does work and it keeps it fairly tidy and neat. But then when I use the cable again, I end up losing them all over the place, and I end up cutting more and more of this stuff off all the time. That's really frustrating. And everything now these days, it seems to be USB powered, so you end up with a great big potluck I've got here, all sorts of USB cables, and it's horrible. So when Magtame contacted me and said, would I be interested in reviewing these two, I definitely was. Now, the special thing about these is they're actually magnetic. So let's have a look. So Magtame have an extensive range of all these USB cables, and we'll have a look at their website in a second. But they sent me these two versions. So this one is labelled USB-A to USB-C. It is black in colour, there's a silver option by the looks of it. And this is the C mag cable. There's a C shape and there's an O shape, which we'll have a look when we open them. And this is 1 metre in length. Not a lot else there to say other than it comes from China. Then this one they've given me, it looks like you can get a black, silver or blue option. I like the blue. And on the back here, this tells me it's USB-C to USB-C. It's the black option. This is the O mag cable, which I'll explain in a second. And they haven't ticked what length it is, but we'll have a look at that. And this one's labelled 60 watts. I don't know what this one is rated at. I presume this is also 60 watt variant. Let's just open them up. So this is the USB-A to USB-C, and this is the C mag cable. And what that means is this is the sort of almost flat version of it. And you can see here it's really neat and tidy. So this is all magnetic and it holds itself together. You can form it into any size and shape you want. So you could have it on your table charging, or you know, transferring data, however you like, and keep this nice and tidy. Yeah, I really like that. Nice braided feel. Feels very rugged. It's got a rubberized end there, so it's not going to get damaged when you bend it harshly like that. It's nice. And this one, let's have a look. So this is the O mag cable. So it's a different physical shape, the cable. This is round, look. Okay, and again, it's magnetic. And this is the USB-C to USB-C version. And this holds together like that. Now, I did notice that the magnetic field on these are slightly different the way they work, but I'll show you in a second. But what I mean is you can't actually, this one can go into a coil and you can tighten it up as much as you like and have a smaller or bigger coil as you like, and then it just sits nice and neat like that. And then you can kind of open it out like this. But this one you can't, because actually the magnetic fields repel each other on the sides here. So when I do that, they're actually pushing apart. They won't stick together that way. But this is fine. You can put it in a loop, nice and tidy, however you like that. All right, let's just have a look at the website. So here is Magtame's website. I will leave a link in the description below, and also in the description I will leave a discount code where you can get an extra 10% off. Now, if you go into the shop at the moment, you can see you're getting already 19% off on some items. I've seen it 20% off. And if you use my code as well, then you'll get an extra 10% on top of that. Now, you see they've got lots and lots of variants, USB-C, USB-A, lightning cables, all kinds of stuff. And they've also got very smart adapters as well. So take a look at that and go through it, because you get lots and lots of good illustrations in here, really clear, and there's some videos as well. Okay, now they told me this one is 1 metre on the box, and this one they didn't tick. So let's just see that this is 1 metre first of all. Let's get my 1 metre rule out and let's stick that on there. So 1 metre 39 is 39 inches in American money, and it is Yeah, so the cable length is not 1 meter, but if you go to connector, you can see it is 1 meter long. Indeed, okay. Now let's just compare the two. Is this one the same length? I believe it is. Let's just put that there. And slightly shorter, but actually that's quite nice. They stick together, that's good. So if you had multiple devices on charge, that is another way of keeping it all neat. So I can imagine that would be useful if you had several of these going to your charging unit or battery pack. You're charging several devices or transferring data. They're not just charging cables, they're data as well. Then that's quite handy. But yeah, one's slightly shorter, but it still comes up to a meter, I'm sure. Let's just have a quick check. Let's try that. Yeah, so end to end, including the connector, then yes, you get 1 meter length. Okay. And I have to say that the quality of the braiding is really good. It's really nice feel. It's flexible. I think that's very tough indeed. That's not going to get damaged under any kind of normal use. That's really nice. I'll be quite happy to utilise them. And this one as well, exactly the same, just a flatter version. Really nice braided coating. Feels like that's going to be nice and rugged. You can bend it around. You compare that to other cables. I've got all sorts here. This is a convertible one. It's fairly stiff, not very good. I think this was advertised as flexible, but it isn't at all. These weren't bad, and they have like a spring on there to prevent you over bending it. This one is probably one of the better ones I've had. It's kind of like a bootlace. It is very flexible actually. Yeah, that's quite nice. This type though, absolutely awful. This PVC coated, horrible. And then this type, much tougher braiding, okay. But I really like these. They look nice. They're kind of like carbon fibre effect, I think. So I like them. Great. And on my magnetic whiteboard here, I've got a couple of these and it works on both. I do like the fact that I can just place them on there like that. Now the rounded type cable, I found that when it's coiled tighter like that, it slowly slides down. So all you have to do is open it up a bit more, and then that gives it a bigger surface area and it stays absolutely fine. But actually, I prefer the fact that I can store them on the side of my filing cabinet here, so they're accessible whenever I need them. Brilliant. And just out of interest, serves no purpose, but I want to have a look at if we can establish the polarity of the magnetic fields on these, which is north, which is south. And is it on the sides here, or is it just on the flat edges, and likewise on here? And let's just bring a compass in and see what I can find on that. So that's not really okay. So this is north here, so that would be pointing to a south field. I'll turn it, it's not changing, but it seems to be lifting the compass needle up. It's not directly horizontal there. Okay, and I lift that and it's flipped the other way. Not really establishing much. Let's try horizontal. So that's south this side, and that's north this side. Now I'll just check that with a magnet then. So this red is north. Yeah, so that's attracted that side, so that must be a south. I'll put it on south. That's north. It's repelling that, and this side is repelling on the north and attracting on the south. Okay, then on this edge, it's kind of repelling the south, and that's strange. It's kind of repelling the north as well. Don't quite get that. Anyway, let's see what a flat version does. So, is it on this face? Yeah, it's repelling the south. You can feel that. And attracting the north, and then on the sides doing the same thing. It's kind of repelling. It's repelling and attracting to the edges rather than in the center, whatever pole I use. Interesting. And on my USB cable tester I've got here, this is the USB-C to USB-C version, the rounded cable version they sent me. Now they do all types of variants, so I'm just testing this particular variant, okay? So I can see we've got the grounds connected, we've got V-bus, which is the power, we've got D- and D+, which is data, we've got CCC1, which I believe is to do with how it determines if you've got one side flipped, you know, which orientation the lead is at either end. V bus is also power and the other ground. The TX and RX are not connected through. And just to look at this version, the USB-A to USB-C version, again, we got the ground and V bus for power. We got the data plus, data minus for your data transfer. But again, the TX and RX connections do not connect through. And probably the most common thing that people use USB cables for is for charging things. You use it for data, but probably not all the time, but it's mostly for charging your mobile phone and stuff like that. So an important factor when you're using a USB cable for charging is how much resistance the cores inside this cable, the power cords that would be, are adding to your charging circuit, because you would get a volt drop going to the device you're trying to charge. And resistance in a cable, effectively you're losing power through heat, okay? So I'm going to try and measure that. So what I've got here is my constant current load device here. I realised that would be flickering away on the camera, but this is set to 1 amp. And I've got that wired into a little mini breadboard here to a USB-C breakout adapter, and that's going from a USB-C to USB-A into this device. And this is a little USB monitoring device. It tells us all kinds of good stuff: voltage, current, how many milliwatt amps you've used, or watt hours you used, and we'll look at that to try and measure this resistance. So if I plug that in now, and it boots up, and let's just go through to this display. Yep. So you can see we've got 5.04 or 5 volts, and it's reading 1.035 amps because I set this to 1 amp, so that's close enough. And if I now go to another option here, so this is going to take a snapshot of what it's currently reading, 5.05 volts and 1.034 amps. I press and hold this button here, and now it's blinking onto this one. It wants to take a second reading. There's a little graphic showing me here, put your cable between the power source and this device. So I'll take this out. You remember the one I've recorded there. I'll take this out and put my cable I want to measure in place. This is the USB-A to USB-C version. I plug that in there. And because this is USB-C, I have to connect it in through the USB-C input, which is there, and let it boot up. Okay, so now we press and hold that again a second time, and it's telling me the resistance is 0.116 ohms. Okay, so we've measured it. That's very comparable to other sort of high quality leads that I do have. I've measured those previously, and that's what you would expect to see. Okay, so I've just measured this cable in exactly the same way, and you can see I'm getting 0.25 ohms, so that's twice the resistance, although I think this may be a bit longer, but the quality of this one is pretty poor. So this is 0.25 ohms versus 1.1 whatever I got on the other cable. So that is the Magtame magnetic USB cable range. If you found this video useful and interesting, then please click the like button. And if you haven't done so already, then please click subscribe too. Okay, catch you later.